Welcome to our ArcGIS Explorer Quick Start tutorial. My name is Vern Zukowski, and I will be your presenter today. In the seminar, we'll overview what ArcGIS Explorer is and what you can do with it. We'll talk about how you install it and things to check before you begin. We'll also talk about how you can set ArcGIS Explorer to work with your preferences. We'll cover navigation and exploring the map, adding and working with content, adding documents, photos, and more, and also how you can leverage ArcGIS Online. Each of these topics will be followed by a software demonstration and a review. What is ArcGIS Explorer? Simply put, ArcGIS Explorer is GIS for everyone. It's a free, lightweight geobrowser that's designed to work directly with your data and work with your GIS. ArcGIS Explorer enables you to deliver GIS to a broad audience, within and between departments that you work with, throughout your organization and with other organizations, and to geographic information users everywhere. ArcGIS Explorer makes it easy to integrate other data and information geographically and provides an easy and intuitive way to explore, visualize, share, and present geographic information. Here's some examples. ArcGIS Explorer is able to leverage ArcGIS cartography. ArcGIS Explorer of course features 3D visualization capabilities, so we can look at cityscapes and other information in 3D mode. ArcGIS Explorer also works with your local data and provides tools that enable us to work with a variety of different sources together, such as swipe and transparency tools. ArcGIS Explorer also enables us to view or perform GIS analysis and integrate a wide variety of other types of documents. ArcGIS Explorer also includes dynamic presentation capabilities which allow you to communicate geographically. ArcGIS Explorer is also deeply coupled with ArcGIS Online and allows you to share the results of your work directly online. Some of the key feature highlights in the latest release are that we've introduced a new intuitive and easy-to-use ribbon user interface. We've added an integrated 2D and 3D display that you can toggle at the click of a button. We have a new base map gallery and enhanced and extended data support. We've provided the capability for you to author geographic presentations and also to leverage what's available on ArcGIS Online. If you're interested in customization, you can do that without programming via application configurations. And there's also a free downloadable SDK which you can use to extend ArcGIS Explorer. We won't be covering either of those in this introductory seminar, but we'll be covering those in later editions. ArcGIS Explorer is also localized in a variety of different languages, so depending on where you are, you can use it in a familiar locale. Before you begin, there's a few things that we'll want to check. First, look for the download. You'll find that on various places at esri.com. When you click to download the application, you'll see links which take you to the system requirements. At that system requirements page, you'll want to review things to make sure that your system is capable of efficiently running ArcGIS Explorer. You'll also find a link to an online check utility which will give you the details of your system and how it compares to the minimum requirements. After you've done those checks, just install the application. Using ArcGIS Explorer. When you start up ArcGIS Explorer, it gets its default base map and the base maps that you find in the base map gallery from ArcGIS Online. ArcGIS Online also powers the tools that you use in ArcGIS Explorer. In addition, you can connect to your own ArcGIS services, which you may have authored using ArcGIS Desktop and published using ArcGIS Server. You can also connect to other local or enterprise data which may exist within your organizations or within other organizations that you work closely with. You can also take advantage of ArcGIS Online content and use a lot of the shared data that is available there both from ESRI and also from other users. ArcGIS Explorer also provides an easy way for you to integrate a wide variety of other information, such as photos, documents, movies, and a lot more. Let's talk about getting started and setting up your preferences. When you start up ArcGIS Explorer, you'll see something like this. At the top of the application, you'll see a ribbon, and the ribbon is organized into tabs. To show new tools or controls, just click on the tab. To the left, you'll see a contents window which will display all of the different things that you've added to ArcGIS Explorer. In the middle, you'll have your map, which you can toggle from 2D mode to 3D mode and use whichever mode works best for you. And in the lower left, you have a navigator. The help is always a good place to start if you're new to ArcGIS Explorer. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of the application, you'll see a little blue question mark. If you click on that, you'll open up the help. There's some excellent chapters that provide introductions and how to get started, as well as details for the expert user. The help is also integrated into the map tips or the control tips. So often when you hover over a tool, you'll see a little F1 capability which enables you to use the F1 key to open up that topic directly in the ArcGIS Explorer help. Something else that's new with this release is the ability to dock your windows in a variety of different ways. Just drag the window off the application and you'll see little blue arrows which enable you to position the window in various locations. There's a lot of different options that you can set so you can tailor ArcGIS Explorer to suit your tastes and needs. One of the places you'll set some options is on the Display tab. Another place that you'll set some options is by clicking the ArcGIS Explorer button and then opening up the ArcGIS Explorer options. You'll see a variety of different menus which enable you to control everything from navigation to the appearance of the application. Let's take a look at navigation and exploring the map. There are many different ways that you can navigate, and they include using the navigator, your mouse, and also the keyboard. The keyboard shortcuts are documented in the help. You can also use the Find tool to navigate. Simply type in a place name, a coordinate, or an address, and you'll be moved to that location. The Home tab is where you'll be doing most of your work and includes controls that allow you to change the base map, add content, open the content window, toggle the map from 2D to 3D, and a lot more. We'll be covering these in the demonstrations. The base map gallery allows you to choose from a variety of ready-to-use base maps. These base maps come from ArcGIS Online and also include the Bing maps, formerly known as Microsoft Virtual Earth maps. Let's begin exploring. When you first start ArcGIS Explorer, you'll see something like this. You'll see the map in the middle, and above the map you'll see the ribbon. The ribbon is organized into tabs, and to look at the controls in the tab, just click on the tab. Over in the upper right, you'll see a blue question mark. If we click that, we'll open up the help. And as I mentioned earlier, the help contains lots of information about how to get started. There's also lots of advanced topics as well, so be sure to reference the help as you begin to learn and explore more with ArcGIS Explorer. If we hover over the controls in the tab, you'll get some context help, and you'll notice that many of these include the capability to hit the F1 key to get additional help. For example, here, I've hovered over the base map, I get a description of what that control does, and when I hit F1, I'll open up the help, and it'll open up directly to that particular topic. Another feature of ArcGIS Explorer is that I can tear the various windows off and dock them in different places. For example, if I click the top of Contents, hold it down with my left mouse button, and move it from its position, you'll notice I get a little preview box of where the Contents window will dock as I place it over the blue arrows. So this would dock it at the top, this would dock it on the left, this would dock it at the bottom and back to the right. I can also just tear it off and leave it in place floating on top of my application. I can dismiss the contents altogether, and if I do so, to bring it back, just look up on the ribbon and click Contents Window. I'll dock it back on the left-hand side. If you notice in the upper right corner of the Contents window, there's a push pin. If I unpin Contents, it becomes a tab on the left-hand side of the application. If I hover over the tab, it will pull out to the right without changing my map extent, and if I move off the tab, it will again go back into place on the left-hand side. I'll open up the Contents, and we'll pin it back into position. The dockable windows work with other tools that you may use, such as the Find. Here I've opened up the Find tool, and if I want to dock that into position at the bottom or top of my contents, I just drag it into place, and you'll see the little position indicator, and if I hover over the top, you'll see a preview of where it goes, and when I let go with the mouse, it just docks into place. If I dismiss the window and open it again, the last position that I used will be remembered. Let's take a look at some user settings. Let's move to the Display tab. To activate it, I just click on the tab and I see additional controls that are organized on this tab. By default, a grid is displayed on ArcGIS Explorer. You can turn that off just by checking off this box. I can also adjust my coordinates and set my distance units on this tab. And I also have controls which affect the different effects that I see. For example, here's an atmospheric halo, here's a fog effect, so I can pick and choose which ones of these I like and just use them on my map. The ways that we can navigate are, I can use my mouse, so if I click on the map and hold down with my left mouse button, I can move the globe back and forth. I can also press with my middle mouse button and slide up to tilt the globe, or slide down to tilt it the other direction, and I can also use my right mouse button to move on the globe once I've zoomed in. I generally use the mouse quite a bit, but you can combine it with other ways to navigate. For example, if I use the J or the L keys on my keyboard, I can zoom in and zoom out. The I and the K keys enable me to tilt the globe. If I move to a different location or zoom in, if I use the R key, I will reset to the default extent of the map. So oftentimes keyboard shortcuts are very useful to use even if we like to use the mouse. Another way to navigate is using the navigator, and the navigator is located in the lower left portion of the map. If I move my mouse over it, it will enlarge, and I have the ability to use the controls now to do the same things that we just did. For example, this slider I can use to zoom in or zoom out. I can also click on the buttons at the bottom of the slider to zoom in or zoom out. The one on the left controls my tilt, and I can also use the circle and grab it and use that to spin the globe around on its axis. If I want to reset back to north, I click the N button at the bottom. If I want to reset to the default, I click the globe, and there's another button which resets my pivot. So I think what you'll find is that you'll use a combination of all three of these to do your navigation. Let's go back to the Home tab and take a look at some of the other controls. Earlier I mentioned the base map gallery, and you'll find that at the top. If I click to open the base map gallery, you'll see a variety of built-in base maps that we can use. For example, here's a base map of just imagery without labels. Here's another base map of the world physical layer, which includes the topo maps for the United States. And here's another base map of worldwide streets. You can choose these at any point in time, and you'll notice that these are multi-resolution maps. So as I zoom in or zoom out, I will see more or less detail, and will see additional information displayed as I zoom in. Also next to the base map gallery is the Add Content control. We'll be covering that in our next session. Okay, that finishes our demonstration of navigation and exploring the map. Really one of the best ways to get used to the various options that you have is just to experiment on your own. In this section we cover getting help, using the ribbon, setting some preferences, docking your windows, the 3 different ways that you can navigate using the mouse, using the keyboard, and also using the navigator, and we also covered choosing new base maps from the base map gallery. In this next section, we're going to be covering adding and working with content. ArcGIS Explorer supports a wide variety of content, all the content that you typically use in your GIS organization. ArcGIS Explorer can use content from ArcGIS Online, can use layer files and layer packages. Layer packages are introduced at ArcGIS Desktop 9.3.1. ArcGIS Explorer also supports KML and KMZ files, a wide variety of GIS services, including those from ArcIMS, WMS services, GeoRSS feeds, as well as services from ArcGIS Server. Explorer also enables you to directly add shapefiles, a wide variety of different raster formats, geodatabases, both enterprise and file geodatabases. You can import data from text files and from GPX files, which are common with many GPS devices these days, and you can also add image overlays. We'll be showing you an example of these in the demonstration that's upcoming. As you add content to your map, you'll see that you have different options available to you, and different parts of the ribbon will be enabled. So the ribbon is contextual, meaning that the tabs, the choices, and the properties that you have will vary depending on the type of content that you're working with. This also makes it very intuitive and easy to use, and determine how you can work with the different types of content that you can bring into ArcGIS Explorer. Because ArcGIS Explorer has been designed to work with a variety of different data sources all at once, you'll find additional tools which help you work with them. For example, there's a swipe tool and also a transparency tool, which are very useful when working with multiple layers. As you add content to your map, you can also organize them. You can create folders and subfolders, which provide good ways to keep things organized and also to provide easy access to turn off layers off or on all at once. The Manage Layer dialog allows you to set your drawing order, so you can move things up or down in the drawing order as well as remove them completely. ArcGIS Explorer enables you to toggle from 2D or 3D. We think that you'll find that you'll decide that you'll do most of your work in one or the other, and then just save your maps in either 2D or 3D mode. The next time you open your map, ArcGIS Explorer will remember whether you saved it as a 2D map or a 3D map. In 2D, you're also able to choose from all of the projections that you might use in ArcGIS Desktop. When you're finished with your work, you can save your map. You can save it as a new map, save it as your new default map, replacing the default map provided by the installation, or you can save it as a new base map, which appears in the base map gallery. You can also save out layers individually, and this creates a file with a .nmc extension. The map has a .nmf extension, which stands for New Map File. NMC stands for New Map Content. So you can export those directly by right-clicking in the contents, and you can also add them later or share them with other users. Speaking of sharing, ArcGIS Explorer makes it very easy to do that by building in the capability to email maps and layers directly to other users. Just click on the ArcGIS Explorer button and you'll find an option to email the entire map to a new user, or right-click on the layer and you can email a layer to another user. The text is automatically added to the email, and the layer or the map is automatically added as an attachment in the email. Let's explore. Okay, we'll begin by first changing our base map. So I'll choose the base map, and I'm going to choose the imagery base map. So this will be the one without the place labels and boundaries. And I like this one because it's just a solid base map of imagery, and I can use this to layer other content upon. I'm also going to set my preference to not show the grid. I do that by clicking the Display tab and turning the grid off. Let's go back to the Home tab and look at Add Content. When I open Add Content, I'll see all the different content that I can add to ArcGIS Explorer. And as I hover over each, I'll see some additional help display. Let's add a shapefile. We'll just browse to the directory where the shapefile is located, click on the shapefile, and open it. You'll notice a couple of different things. First, we've automatically navigated to the extent of the shapefile, and that's a user option. To change that, I click on the ArcGIS Explorer button, choose ArcGIS Explorer Options, and here I'll see that by default we automatically navigate to the extent of the content when it's added. So you can choose to turn that off or on I'll leave it on for this demonstration. You'll also notice that the shapefile has been added in solid yellow with no boundaries and also is partially transparent, and that's the default. To change that, I just make sure that the layer is highlighted. I'll see at the top of the ribbon that it's a feature layer, and I can click on the Appearance tab to change its appearance. Now your tab may look slightly different because I'm looking at Explorer in constrained dimensions. So if you make Explorer smaller, some of the controls will condense and be underneath the various buttons that you click. For example, normally I'll see this list of symbols along the top. Because Explorer is constrained, the symbols are now underneath the symbol button. But I can change the button here just by choosing a different color. So let's make the outlines black with a purple interior. Or if I don't like that, I can just choose perhaps just outlines only. I can also change the size. So those outlines are small, so I can up the outline symbol size by clicking this button. You can see it change on the map. Or I can just go back and choose another one of the default options. Let's add another layer. We'll go back to the Home tab, and we will add, this time, a raster file. So here's a TIFF file, a georeferenced TIFF file, and all data sources must be georeferenced. And that's now been added to my map. One of the interesting things that we can do now is we can use some of the tools that allow me to work with these layers together. For example, I can adjust the transparency on the TIFF image to look at the underlying shapefile. And I also have a swipe tool which allows me to move back and forth and slice back and forth between one layer and the layer below it. And you can control which layers are swiped through user preferences. Another thing that you'll notice is that depending on what I've chosen in my contents, we'll see different tools appear. For example, right now I've highlighted the raster layer, and you'll see raster layer is listed at the top of the menu, and the tools that I have available are tools that are appropriate for working with the raster layer. If I click back on the shapefile, we'll see that the ribbon has changed to a feature layer, and in this case my tools haven't changed, but they might depending on the different content that I have. Let's go ahead and add some additional content. Let's move on, and in this case, let's choose a KML file. Just navigate to the location of your data. And in this case, I'm opening up a KMZ file that's been downloaded from the NRCS website. So here's my KML file. Again, by default, we're zooming to the extent of that data set. And I've already shown you how you can turn that off. And I'm now looking at a KML file, and I can click on that to open up the pop-up window for each of them. You'll also notice once again that when I'm working with the KML file, that KML is highlighted. If we look at the tools that are available for a KML file, now we can see that they're different than the tools that are available for a raster file or for a shapefile. So this is part of one of the nice features of the Explorer ribbon, that only the tools that are appropriate to use with a specific layer are available to me in the ribbon user interface. We'll go ahead and we'll turn those off. And we'll go ahead and add yet another type of layer. Again, we'll go back to the Home tab and choose Add Content. And let's go ahead and, in this case, let's add an ArcGIS layer. ArcGIS Explorer supports both layer files and layer packages. Here's a layer package that I authored using ArcGIS Desktop and exported as an LPK using ArcMap. We'll add that to ArcGIS Explorer. And one of the things that you'll notice is that the cartographic representation that we used in ArcGIS Desktop before we exported the layer package is now shown here in ArcGIS Explorer. Also, when I click on the feature, the content window pop-ups are the same as I determined and specified in the HTML pop-up option in the properties for the layer in ArcMap. Let's take a closer look at displaying attributes, and let's go back to our shapefile. Now here in our shapefile, when I click on the feature, I'll open up its attribute table. And by default, all of the attributes are displayed. You can see there's quite a lot here. To change those, I can adjust that in the layer properties. And I do that by right-clicking and opening up the properties, or I can also choose this from the tab above. If I choose pop-up content, you can see that I can turn off all of the attributes and just choose a couple that I want to display. So here I've turned most of them off, and I'm just going to choose a couple, the name, the population density, and we'll go ahead and click OK. Now when I click on the feature, we'll only see those fields that I wanted to display. We'll right-click again, open up the properties for the pop-up, and on this page you'll also see that I have a feature tip. So right now the name is the feature tip, and I can enable that by clicking the checkbox on. So let's click OK. Now when I hover over the feature, you'll see that attribute display as the feature tip. And the different properties that you have or that are available to you will depend on which type of layer that you're using. Let's turn off our counties and let's add some more content. In this case, what we're going to do is add something called an image overlay. And we'll use the image overlay in a presentation that we'll create later on. But I'll show you how to add one now. An image overlay can be any PNG file. So I'm going to browse once again to a location of where I have a PNG file, and we'll open it. So this PNG file is just part of the ESRI website, and when I right-click on this, my properties enable me to position that in a variety of different locations. So by default, it's in the center of the map, and I can position it at the top. I can position it off to one side. We'll just go ahead and put it back in the center of the map and leave it there. But you can position these any way that you want. And even though they're part of the map is movable underneath those. And we'll show you how you can take advantage of these as part of a presentation. We'll turn that off. Let's go back to add content again, and we'll add a different kind of content. This is a GIS service. So using this service, we can connect to a new server. And the new server could be either an ArcGIS server or an ArcIMS server, a server that's providing WMS services or GeoRSS feeds. All we need to do is just type in the URL. I'm going to connect directly to ArcGIS Online servers, and to do that, I type in the service URL. So that's the URL to the server, and I click Next. Now we establish a connection to the server, and all of the published resources will be displayed for me, and I can just browse through them and choose one to add to my map. So here's the list of published resources on ArcGIS Online. Some of the newly published resources include demographics. So if I want to add them to my map, I can just choose from the list. Here's the USA daytime population. I select it and choose Add Service. This layer will now be added to my map. And once again, we'll zoom to the default extent of the service. And there's our USA population. If I zoom in, you'll see that the service has scale dependencies, and we move from county level data or state level data to county level, and even block groups and tracks as we zoom in further. You'll also notice at the top of the ribbon that this is a service layer, and therefore we have different tools that are available to us between service layer and image overlay, our ArcGIS layer package, our raster, counties, and the KML. As you can see, those tools change depending on what we're working with. Also, when we connect to a service layer like we've done here, to look at the pop-up window, we need to enable that. It's turned off by default. But if you have a good server connection, as we do in this case, I can choose to turn on the pop-up window. So what this does is this allows me to communicate with the server when I click on the feature to look at the attribute information that's been published with this service. I can also do things like right-click and show the legend and learn more about these features in a dockable window. And I can also dock that anywhere. In this case, I'll dock it to the bottom of my contents window. Okay, we've added a lot of different layers to our map, and we might want to organize those. So if I go back to the Home tab, I'll see that one of the things that I can do is add a folder. So I'll click to add a folder. We can give it a new name. And then I can move features or move my layers into this folder by selecting them and then dragging them and dropping them into place. Another way that I can move things is by choosing the layer and then right-clicking and choosing Move to Folder. So we can use folders to organize all of the things that we work with in our map. Now let's go back to our map, and I'm going to press the R key to bring us back to the default extent. And let's add some additional content. We'll go back up. To add content, I'm going to choose an ArcGIS layer, and in this case I'm going to choose a layer package of world population. We'll add that to our map. Now, what you'll notice with this layer is that it has extruded features. So this layer package was created in ArcGlobe. The features were extruded in ArcGlobe, and it was exported as a layer package using ArcGlobe. So now these 3D features are visible in ArcGIS Explorer. If I toggle to 2D, we'll see a 2D representation of our map, and we'll also see that these features are now draped flat instead of extruded in 3D because we're in 2D mode. Another property of the map when it's in 2D is that I can change its projection, and I do that by clicking on the ArcGIS Explorer button, choosing Map Properties, and then I can change the 2D projection by choosing from all of the ones that are available here. This is the same list that you'll find in ArcGIS Desktop. So if you want to work in a different projection or want to work in the projection that you normally work with in ArcGIS Desktop, here's where you can choose that. Let's flip our map back to 3D. And once again, we'll see extruded features as these draw in 3D. And one final thing I'll show during this section is how to share and how to save. So if I click on the Explorer button, I can save my work. I can save it as a new ArcGIS Explorer map. I can save it as my default map, which means the next time that I start up ArcGIS Explorer, the map that I currently see will be the one I open with, and I can also add it as a new base map. If I choose Add it as a new base map, a thumbnail is created for me, and I can go ahead and save it. Now when I open up my base map gallery, I'll see my new base map available in the Explorer gallery. Once I've saved my map, I can also email it to other users, and I can also email individual layers, and to do that I just right-click and choose Email. Okay, we covered quite a lot in that section. We covered a variety of different types of content that you can add, how to add them, and also how to change their properties. We talked about managing and organizing layers and also saving and sharing your work. In this next section, we're going to talk about how you can integrate other types of content onto your map by talking about notes. Notes enable you to bring in lots of different things and place them geographically on your map. These can include documents, photos, reports, websites, and more. When you click on the note contents will display in the pop-up window. You can edit the contents of the pop-up window. You can add text. You can add HTML tags, so you can format it using HTML tags. You can include URLs to the website and more. You can create several different kinds of notes. You can create a point note, a line note, or an area note. So you can create them by drawing on the map directly or clicking with your mouse, and you can also create a note by entering an address, a place, or a coordinate. Once you create a note, you can begin editing the pop-up contents. You can do that by typing directly in the pop-up content window. You can also edit the title, and that pop-up content window can include URLs or path names to photos, and we'll demonstrate a few of those in the upcoming demonstration. You'll notice in the pop-up window that you can also email the note directly to someone from that window. And we've already shown you how to change some of the symbology, and again, when you click on the note, you'll be able to change the note symbol. Notes have also other properties than we've seen in the layers. So a note has a default view, which is the position at which we'll zoom to when we click on the note. You'll see various symbols that we can choose from displayed on the ribbon, and also different ways to open up the note pop-up one. So okay, let's explore and take a closer look at notes. So here's ArcGIS Explorer, and let's go ahead and use the Find tool to locate ESRI. And I'm going to do that by typing in the ESRI address at 380 New York Street, Redlands, California. So we've zoomed to that location, so I've found the ESRI address, and now I want to move that to the map. I'm going to do that by right-clicking and choosing Move to Map. Now you'll notice that it's highlighted in my contents, and now what we've done is we've created a note by moving that location to my map. And there are other ways that I can create notes. For example, if I look here on the Home tab, I can create notes just by creating a point on the map. I can also create a note by digitizing a line. And I can also create a note by digitizing an area. So those are the different ways that I can create notes. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my polygon note, my line note, and my point note, and we'll go back and work with the note that we created by finding the address. I'm going to go ahead and dismiss my Find tool since I won't need that anymore. Okay, so let's begin to work with some of the note properties. One of the first things I might want to do is change the title, and I can do that by clicking in the contents and typing in a new name there. Or I could also do that by right-clicking and opening up the pop-up window for the note. When I do that, I can put it into edit mode, and I can change the title by editing directly in the window. I click OK to apply the changes. Now whenever I hover over the note, I'll see the title, and we'll also see the pop-up window. Now the pop-up window has no content in it, so again I can go into edit mode, and I can add ESRI, the world leader in GIS, and now that will become my pop-up window content. So whenever I click on that note, we'll open up and see that. And I can continue doing additional edits here. First, let's change the default symbol. By default, a point note uses an orange push pin, and let's go ahead and change the symbol. And I can do that by coming up to Appearance and choosing from the symbol gallery here that we have. And since this is ESRI, let's choose an appropriate symbol, and I'll choose the globe. So now the globe is our new symbol for this note. Let's open up the pop-up window again and do some other interesting things with that. And I'll need to put that into edit mode, so once again we click in the lower right to put the pop-up window in edit mode. And let's begin by adding some HTML tags. So if you know a little bit of HTML, this is an easy way for you to add some additional formatting to the text strings that you display here. So for example, I'm making part of this bold, and I'm making part of this italic, and I'm just doing that by using the HTML B and I tags. And I'm finished my edits, and let's click OK. So now you can see the changes that we've made. Now we can do some other interesting things. For example, ESRI recently added a new building to its campus, and we have a photograph of that. So let's go ahead and find that photograph, and I'll browse on my disk here to locate that photograph, and here's the photograph of the new building. It's a JPEG file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the location of that, and we'll go ahead and replace our string here, and we'll add the JPEG file on the end, and let's click OK. So now you see what we've done is, instead of displaying text, we now show a picture of the new building on campus when we click on the note. And we can do some other interesting things here as well. For example, we can change that to the URL for esri.com. So now, instead of displaying just text or just the photograph, we'll actually open up the website for ESRI. So every time we click on the note, that's what will open. And again, if I email this to somebody, because we're using externally available resources in the note, they'll see exactly what I see. One last thing we'll take a look at are some additional note properties. If I don't like where my note is positioned, I can use this tool to place it in a different location. So just click on a new location and then click Apply. Also, I can change the extent which we zoom in with when we click on the note. So if I want to zoom in a little bit further, I'll change the properties for the default view for that note. And again, click OK. Now, no matter where I am, let's zoom out just a little bit. If I double click on the note, we'll zoom to that view. And that view can also be a tilted view. So if I want to show some of the mountains around Redlands, again, I can right-click. I can capture that as a default view. Let's flatten out our globe. And let's zoom out, or zoom out just a little bit. Now when I double-click on that note, we'll move to that view that we captured. Okay, in that section, we covered a lot of the different types of content that you can add to your map using notes. We talked about how you can create notes and pop-ups and how you can edit the pop-up contents, and also properties like changing symbols. Let's move on to presentations. Presentations allow you to use your geographic content and create a presentation that can use anything on your map. So we've worked with lots of different types of layers. We've added notes and titles, and all of those can be used during our presentation. When we author a presentation, we capture what you can think of as a slide, but that slide remembers our drawing states, where we've zoomed to, and everything else about our map. We can also add captions to our presentations and set options like an interval for autoplay. We can also save our map so that it will automatically open in presentation mode. Now, one thing to remember is that unlike PowerPoint, ArcGIS Explorer is live during an Explorer presentation, so you can interact with the map at any point in time to make a point or to highlight certain features. We use the Presentation tab to author a presentation, and on that tab you'll see controls which allow us to do things like add a title, remove a title, choose from a variety of built-in styles. We can also capture a slide or recapture an existing slide, and we can play our presentation either from the beginning or from the current slide that we're on. As we author presentations, the slides will appear in a slides window. When we capture a slide, it captures the layer visibility and anything else that we have open, such as pop-ups, legends, and titles. We can add our own titles and edit them and add them to our slides, and we can capture new slides or recapture or overwrite existing slides. There's also a number of presentation options which allow us to do things like manually advance slides or set the slide advance to automatically occur after a specified number of seconds. When we begin our presentation, ArcGIS Explorer moves into full screen mode. You'll see a presentation toolbar in the upper left, which allows us to move forward or backwards in the presentation and also open up the presentation slides. Let's explore presentations. So here's ArcGIS Explorer as we left it from the last demonstration, and let's begin a presentation. To do that, I choose Edit Presentation, and we open up the Presentation tab. You can see now we have an empty slide window because we haven't yet captured any slides. Let's begin our presentation with this default view of the globe, and to capture a slide, I just click Capture New Slide, and you'll see it appear in the slide's content. Now, for the next part of our presentation, let's add that overlay. We'll turn that on, and we'll capture that as a new slide. And let's begin by exploring Wyoming, and I'll turn off the ESRI image overlay, and let's zoom into our Wyoming counties. This is that layer package that we looked at earlier, and let's go ahead and capture that as a new slide. Oh, no, wait, I wanted to add a title. Let's go ahead and do that. I come over here to Edit Text, and this is our Wyoming counties. So let's go ahead and add that. And this time what I want to do is I want to position that in the middle, and I also want to overwrite the slide that we just captured. So I've made some changes. I've added a title. I want to overwrite or replace the existing slide, and I just click Recapture. So now we've added the title. Earlier we clicked on some of the features and we displayed the pop-up window contents, and I can also capture that in our slide. Let's capture a new slide with the pop-up window open. Let's remove our title. Let's turn off our Wyoming counties, and now let's go to ESRI Redlands, that note that we created earlier. So let's zoom into that location, and you can see the note remembers our tilted view as well. And let's capture that now as a new slide. Let's also open up the pop-up window. We've opened up the ESRI website, and let's capture that in our slide. So you get the idea. Anything that we do on our map gets captured in our slide and then becomes part of our presentation. For our grand finale, let's zoom back to the full extent of the globe and capture that as our ending slide. Now that we're done, we can begin by playing our presentation. So let's start our presentation. When we start our presentation, you'll see Explorer opens in full screen mode. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the presentation toolbar with arrows that allow us to move forward or backwards in the presentation. We also still have access to the navigator, so we can still use that to navigate and do things while we present. Let's move to our second slide. And in our second slide, we turned on the ESRI image overlay that we added earlier. One thing to keep in mind is that we still have live ArcGIS Explorer running in the background, so at any point in time I can grab the map and navigate or click on features to get additional information. We can click the arrow or use the space bar to move to the next slide. In this slide we added the Wyoming county's title, we turned off the ESRI image overlay, and we added our layer package of Wyoming counties. Advancing to the next slide, what we did is we captured the open pop-up window when we clicked on one of the counties. I've advanced to the next slide, and here what we've done is we've turned off the Wyoming counties and we've zoomed in to the ESRI Redlands note that we created earlier. We can click to advance to the next slide, and here is where I open up the pop-up window to the note. Another option for slide navigation is to open up the slides window, and I can choose on any one of these slides to move forward or backward in the presentation. And again, remember, ArcGIS Explorer is live, so at any point in time I can grab control of the application and begin interacting with it. For our grand finale, we zoomed out to end our ArcGIS Explorer presentation. So during this introduction, we've covered how you can use ArcGIS Explorer and how to get started using it. We've reviewed the installation and how to do basic navigation, use the navigator, use the mouse, and also use the keyboard, how to get help, and how to work with the various dockable windows. We've also covered how you can add and work with the different types of content that ArcGIS Explorer supports, and we've shown how you can integrate a variety of different things like websites and pictures and text into the map by using notes and note pop-ups. And finally, we've shown how you can create dynamic presentations that allow you to interact with the map and record everything that you've done in ArcGIS Explorer. We'd like to thank you for participating in this online introductory seminar, and make sure that you look at additional resources which are available online through esri.com. Thank you very much.